Drinking water is an immense and tragic problem. Contaminated water claims the lives of at least 10,000 persons each day, worldwide, mostly babies. 10,000 persons dying every day from polluted water. That's at least comparable to AIDS. There are in fact more than 1,200,000,000 folks in the world who have no access to drinking water, and a major fraction of that population is rural. This problem affects poor countries whose governments do not have the means of providing rural water networks. The only way out is for the villages to construct their own network. Agua Para La Vida, in English Water for Life, is a small NGO that makes it possible for the villages to construct communally their drinking water system. Here, as in most areas of want, people don't die of thirst, but from drinking polluted water. This initiative started in 1987 and takes place in Nicaragua, a particularly poor country of Central America, whose standard of living is barely above that of Haiti. Agua Para La Vida uses gravity water systems, without pumps, in regions possessing springs above the villages. The spring is protected and captured, a pipe leads its water underground and without pumps onto an enclosed holding tank. From the tank, a simple distribution network, still without pumps, brings the water near each village house. We provide from 50 to 70 liters daily per person. Enough water to drink, cook, wash and wash clothes. A European uses 5 times as much, an American 10 times as much. To avoid waterborne diseases, the quantity of water available is as important as its quality. First, you need to find the spring and to measure its minimum output of the year. This is where water emerges from the ground for the first time. One builds a little dam and a small canal out. One fashions a gutter with the bark of a chaguiton, a look-alike banana tree, and one times with a watch the filling of a pail from this improvised canal. This one, for instance, is adequate for a village of a couple of hundred. Once the spring is developed and protected, the water will be pure and we won't need to disinfect it. You always have to test the quality of the spring water. One filters a fixed amount of water, in general 100 milliliters, or if one suspects the water to be heavily polluted, less. One collects residues on a filter. It is the coliform bacteria one cares about because their presence indicates the possibility of human or animal pollution. One then adds growing elements to the filtered residues and one keeps the sample at an adequate set temperature for 24 hours. Then a colony has grown out of each bacteria and it is the colony one counts. The danger is that water be contaminated by men, or more likely here by cattle. It is a danger we do not accept, so the area needs to be condemned.
En mundo de la comunidad de Villa Silvia, me comprometo ante el Comité de Agua del siguiente. Uno, que sería trabajar con eficiencia y puntualidad durante toda la ejecución del proyecto de agua potable de la comunidad. Conforme a la cantidad de días de trabajo también tenemos que trabajar, porque dice cumplir con la cantidad de 56 días de
We
trabajo.
require each family to commit in writing to its share of the construction work. This is how it's done. The number of man days that each family must provide has been calculated, and the head of household signs a contract with Agua Para La Vida.
Arriba. Sí. Óigame, igual como lo hemos hecho, ¿verdad?
Sí.
During these preliminaries, which may last as much as 2 years, the APLV Centre technicians design and calculate both the water system and its budget. When financing is found, the project starts. It lasts between 3 and 6 months. The APLV technicians help the villagers structure their work. The APLV social worker interact especially with the women, for they are the first to apprehend the benefits of a drinking water delivery system. Agua Para La Vida always pairs the water system with a complete set of latrines.
Entonces miren que esto es un proceso en las comunidades donde no hay letrina. Entonces tenemos que las letrinas son de gran importancia en una comunidad.
The villagers undertake all the work they are capable of doing themselves. It is a heavy task for all. The spring may be 6 to 8 miles away from the village. You run into touching moments. For instance, when water first arrives at the tank. It travels quite slowly by gravity from the spring, and the assembled folks wait and begin to say, maybe it won't work. But there are always a few kids upstream with their ears stuck to the pipe who first hear the water gurgle as it approaches. They shout, viene el agua, the water is coming, the water is coming, and the adults get excited with them. Even after the water is pure at the tap, if the village hygiene is non-existent, as is usually the case, the water will be polluted between the faucet and ingestion. The adoption of hygiene practices is therefore strictly necessary.
Miren mis manitos. Qué limpias están. Con un jaboncito me la fui a lavar. Ahora están listas para saludar.
Village adoption of hygiene practices requires sustained involvement by our 2 social workers long after the completion of the project. Agua Para La Vida measures the impact of its program by monitoring the weight progression of babies. The mothers themselves weigh the babies and keep their weight records. Since they frequently can't read, an ingenious scale has been developed that allows them nevertheless to weigh, record the weight graphically, and evaluate by themselves if the weight progression is satisfactory.
Entonces, ¿cómo mira que está ese puntito usted? ¿Cómo está ese puntito? ¿Adentro o afuera? Entonces, ¿cómo está el peso de la niña? ¿Verdad? Adentro del camino de la familia, de la salud. Pesó 14.7, ¿verdad? El mismo peso que el mes pasado. Bueno, como él tiene sobrepeso, no, ¿verdad? Se mantiene con el peso. Sí.
Agua Para La Vida has created a school that makes water technicians out of young farmers starting with less than a high school education. After 3 years of training at most, these local technicians can design and boss water projects, meaning that they can do without foreign technical help.
Queremos evitar este tipo de perfil.
ETAP, Agua Para La Vida's technical school, offers a genuine work-study formation. It is an example of successful transfer of modern techniques to third-world technicians. We have made it a point to train women as well as men. In a macho country, this is a challenge because women technicians have to supervise village men who are not accustomed to that.
Yo muevo.
Here farmers burn before planting. One result of such practices is that springs dry up. So Agua Para La Vida helps the villagers reforest and enclose the slopes that feed the water tables drained by the springs. All in all, APLV has planted tens of thousands of trees. In this little patch, there may be 3,000. We've got a guy who's pretty knowledgeable in tree species, local species, resistant species, species less attractive as burning fuel so that they won't be cut as much. There are a lot of people in search of wood for cooking fuel. This program is a difficult one. This is not all. Gravity water systems raise particular problems for which Agua Para La Vida has developed both new engineering methods and pedagogical tools especially conceived for our local technicians. Such technical notes and computer programs can be discharged by anyone from APLV's website. All the water systems built with help of Agua Para La Vida for the last 18 years function today. For 11,000 persons in 35 communities, where previously water was scarce, far and heavily polluted, this means 250,000 gallons of healthy water per day, even during the dry season. All this work is carried out by villagers with the help of APLV's technicians. There are also busy volunteers, 7 working in the US, 8 in France. The material cost is between $350 and $450 per family. Running the school costs $25,000 a year. This includes student scholarship, each about $2,500 per year. It is thanks to a few hundred donors that Agua Para La Vida has been able to function for all these years. There are more and more projects and always a great demand for contributions.
Isla was the first project with which I worked with APLV. What I do is the easy part. I just provide some funding. What APLV does and what you do is much, much harder.
Tener una foto de él, pues. Y es lo que deseamos, pues. Tener a un señor de otro país en mi casa es un orgullo. En realidad me siento, como se dice, orgulloso, pues, ¿verdad? Tanto yo como la comunidad.
À la fois pour que nous continuions notre effort et pour que d'autres.
Both for us to continue our efforts and develop our program and for others to do the same, it is essential for the inhabitants of well-off countries to manifest their solidarity
Le gros de notre support, de notre
with the populations in need of decent water. The major part of our financial support comes from people like you. And so I invite you also to support what is a really effective endeavor.